Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. My name is John.
This is Crystal. We talk about the joys and the challenges of teaching music in the elementary school classroom.
We share struggles, we brainstorm solutions.
And we would love to have you join us. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chaotic Harmony, episode 73.
73. We're getting close to 3/4 of 100.
We are.
Wild.
I know, it's crazy. So we are coming in a couple of weeks later than we wanted to on this topic.
Because life has happened.
Life happened, yes.
And also, you all want to have your own Thanksgiving break. Let's be real here.
That's true. There's that too. But yeah, between illnesses and crazy stuff going on at school, yes. We do apologize for dropping out there for a second, but we are back, and we wanted to do an episode recapping AOSA 2022 conference because it was magic.
Yeah, and it's also kind of cool. You started the whole AOSA on your own, and then I did one on my own, so we're now at 3 together.
Yeah.
This is our third one together. Third one, yes.
Yes.
Wild.
And once you make conference part of your year, you just can't not go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's become really important for me.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, how is it overall, overarchingly different for you this year compared to years prior?
So this year there was still so much that I wanted to go in and learn. Okay. And that's what I've always loved about that's why I go to all these workshops, it's really hard to give up a Saturday sometimes and get out of bed at work hours to go to an ORF workshop, but it is always, always, always worth it.
Worth it.
It makes my life easier. In a lot of ways, it refreshes my spirit. It gives me so many great ideas for the classroom. It really refuels my purpose and my imagination. So in the past, I have gone with that as the priority, and it very much still was this year. I learned amazing things that I immediately put into use and have already gone really well in my classroom. But the most important thing to me this year was, I had to miss the conference the year before. After I say that you can't miss conference once it's part of the thing,
but
COVID.
These are trying times, exactly.
Yeah. Because of COVID, I couldn't go the year before, and I just needed to be hugged by my people. That felt so good. And literally the minute I got off the plane in Kansas City and I'm waiting for my bags at the carousel, I saw Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Hey. She was the very first person that I got to hug.
Very cool.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
I know. And I didn't recognize her at first, and then she starts talking, and I'm like, oh yes. I edited your voice.
Right.
Yeah. When someone's out of context.
Right.
That's the
I
thing.
understand.
Yeah.
It's also funny whenever you get into an airport, and I had the inverse situation when I was leaving, because I left a little later because I wanted to hang out with a friend of mine in Kansas, and I got there and I saw 2 people from Chicago. Unfortunately, their plane was delayed.
Yeah.
They recognized me because I had an ukulele sticking out of my backpack. It's like, oh, you're one of us.
Yep.
So
that's how you find your people.
Exactly.
Yeah. You look for the ukuleles and the recorders, and you're like, hello, or the music themed outfits.
That's
something
true.
like that. Yes. If somebody's wearing Music Notes socks, then you know that they're on your team. It's an incredible experience to have hundreds of you land in one spot, and like waiting for the bus or at the airport or at the train station, like you just find people and you kind of slowly gather and all head in the same direction.
Very much so.
I felt like every time I turned around, I just ran straight into a hug, and I needed them.
That's nice. That's cute. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I feel like similarly for me, for me, it was less of a direct application, but more like these are great ideas, and I think for the entire year, I'm going to slowly sew them into my brain. But similar to you, I go to conference to be rejuvenated, to rethink my paradigms on how education should be, and how I'm teaching as an educator, and where I want the trajectory of education to go as a whole, and to see where these masterful people are leading the direction towards the ORF process. But something that's been really different this year, I don't know why. I don't know. I've mentioned this to you a couple episodes before, but being an 8th year teacher, I still feel, I don't feel young, but I don't feel old. But now I'm finally at the table with a lot of these masterful teachers, just having conversations. And that was one of the best things for me. As much as I love hugs, for me, it was what was the embrace of conversation. There are so many.
And the best ones happen in the hallways or at lunch or dinner, outside of the session.
Exactly. And just chatting about big topics and things that you couldn't talk about online. because online can get toxic or nuanced
very quickly.
Can be lost. And so I had some really hard but good talks with some friends, and it was just great to be embraced with words. How about that?
We hold space for each other. Yes. That's what conference is. Yeah. And you're right. You cannot replicate that online. No. And so many of us going to, largely digital workshops and things in the last couple of years, you forget how important it is to be looking at somebody face to face who really understands your life. Yeah. These are all people who have the same job that we do. And it's kind of a unique job. We're the only weirdo in the school that does what we do. We're a very tiny fraction of the overall numbers of teachers in our district. And so when you gather these people together and we get to kind of go around the table, it's like, oh, okay, so we are all facing the same challenges, even though we're from different states, right. And we teach in really different schools with different socioeconomics, and different budgets and all that. We're still facing a lot of the same issues. Yeah. And that was really encouraging. Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. It
was a really great session.
It was incredible. It was an incredible few days. It was right at the beginning of November. It almost always is. So this year it was in Kansas City, which was lovely.
First
Next
time?
year, it was my first time being in Kansas City.
My second time for me.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No, my first time was back in 2018. I was traveling on my own, and it was like, I really like the city. And going back there a second time, I was like, I really like the city.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to do. Yeah. You were out checking out the town.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, you're at a place with so many live jazz musicians that San Diego is great. It does not have that. So I was out with a lot of friends just checking out the culture, and whatnot.
Yeah. And it looked really fun.
It was.
You guys found live music every night. Yeah, I'm still very much recovering and getting my strength back from being sick earlier this year. So we rented a house together. Yep. About 12 of us did. So we had people from Sacramento and
Reno,
Nevada, and then the
San Diego,
the Californians,
and also Portland.
Yes, we did at Portland and Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So we were all there. There were 3 chapter presidents among our group, and so we had the banners.
Yes.
If you're not an ORF person, every ORF chapter has a banner, and some of them are beautiful and homemade and quilted, and we do a banner parade.
Or sometimes you just have a piece of paper that says, I'm from this place.
Okay, that was funny. They forgot their banner.
They likely
somebody
forgot
just Sharpied the name of their chapter.
There are 2 groups. Oh, man.
Although I did hear a story about Florida forgetting their banner, so they went to Michael's and made one the night before.
Wow.
Yeah, you remember the gingerbread men one?
I do, yeah.
With strategically placed Santa hats.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good for them.
Good for them. But anyway, since we had the banners from 3 different chapters, we hung them up in the house. So we were calling it the ORF House, HAUS, since ORF Shore. I know.
We're a bunch of nerds, by the way. I don't know if you've known this yet, but we're a bunch of nerds.
Yep. It was so beautiful, though. And I loved having a kitchen and a living room, so we're not all crowded on hotel beds trying to have conversations. Yeah. We learned that in Salt Lake City, that having a house it's just a little more conducive to those conversations and that you want to have with your people at night. So we were up late doing ukulele jams, and we did one night where we invited everybody on the board of the American Center for Elemental Music and Movement, ASEM, and then all of our collaborative board members to come over, and we called it Orfsgiving. We had a really nice dinner together, and it was just really. It really filled up my bucket. I loved it. Yeah.
I felt spent at the end of the week, so maybe we had the exact opposite situation.
I remember seeing you about 3 days in, and you're like, "Oh, you're here." I'm like, "No, you're here."
I mean, I also mind you, I got to Kansas City on Tuesday, so there were 2 days I did not see you. So that bled in also with the fact that I was out a lot. So
yeah, I tried to go as late as I could. I really didn't want to take off work. I also needed to stay a little later because I was teaching a workshop after I left from Kansas City. But anyway, it was beautiful. So this year's featured presenters were BethAnn Hepburn and Aaron DeWayne, and they are very, very different teachers, but both incredible and both doing really innovative things. And it was a pleasure to learn from both of them. BethAnn is one of the co-authors of Purposeful Pathways, which is an Orff Schulwerk-based curriculum, and I have it. I love it. And then Aaron DeWayne he's a teacher who really goes for a lot more incorporating modern music and dance and tap in his work, and he has the coolest ideas. So yeah, it was a privilege to learn for them. But I wanted to go to the student performers.
Oh gosh.
So every year we get to see kids
Yes.
from the region where conference is being held perform, and oh my goodness, it was beautiful. Yeah.
It kind of reinvigorates again, I go to conference to re-spark the paradigm where music is going towards and how I can be a part of that narrative.
Yeah.
And seeing kids just perform, they were phenomenal.
Yes.
They were phenomenal.
They were phenomenal. They did a theme from darkness to light.
Yeah.
And they did all songs from the volumes, from the Orff Schulwerk volumes, and it was movement and Orff instruments and singing, and it was really cool. They were so good. They were and it was also good to talk to their teachers and find out how much work went into that. So
how much work went into it?
they practiced a lot. So and that was an audition group, and it was from it was from across the district. So it wasn't just one school. And they practiced multiple times a week. They had to learn things on their own, and then they spent like hours every Wednesday together putting all of that together. So it was a real commitment on their part.
Definitely.
And that's really impressive when it's elementary school kids who are able to put together a performance that was that entertaining and just so well done. And it was amazing to hear the applause of all the teachers at the end. We gave them a standing ovation that just went on.
Thundering applause. It was
I loved watching their smiles. Like, when we first started clapping, like some of them were still holding it playing it cool, but then one by one you saw them like just their whole faces just like light up. I loved it.
Yeah. It was just rethinking that whole element. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
It really reinforced for me that I want to do some sort of, audition group for the kids who really love it, with our whole district, to pull a couple of them and do a couple days.
It would be great. It would be great. It's something that's been very important these past couple of years is we need to be more visible for advocacy. And so showcasing the kids in this way, I know we have a paradigm of what good music is, but just showing this to the parents, and even though their perception of what quote unquote good music is what they listen to on the radio, this is also important. This is also awesome, and these kids are making it. Why not show it to the parents and the admin as well? So it's been on my brain as well. That's
what I love about the Orff process is you do start with you start with an idea of where you're going to go, but you don't just put sheet music. You don't put any music in front of the kids. They feel it in their bodies, and you teach it to them by rote. And then they add on to it. That's why I love it so much. I just feel like it's such a collaborative way to learn, and it's so based in what we know is good educational practice. We're not sitting in chairs. My room does not have chairs in it at all. It freaks people out when they first come in there, because we learn through body percussion, through chant, through they might be able to read some basic music by the time I'm done with them. They might have to go and learn what 16th notes look like in high school later. I'm not going to show them, but they can play alligator, or watermelon.
Well, just going back to our earlier episode with Josh Southard, him saying his son, maybe he doesn't learn all the details of notation, but once he goes in middle school, he once they teach him, that's an eighth note. Oh, I already knew that in my body. I know how to apply that.
Yes. Once you can feel it,
you
can write it down. Yeah.
Music literacy is not just one thing.
That's right. And I spent so many years thinking that music was learning how to read sheet music. And because I was better at earing something, I wasn't as good of a musician. And so I'm just so grateful to have found this way to teach. That's no, we teach it by rote because you got to learn how to speak before you can read.
Inversely, I don't know if I shared this on this podcast before. I have a friend of mine who was very much rooted in the conservatory approach, and he's trying to unlearn that because he does not know how to play music without music in front of him. That's just so sad.
It is sad. It is sad. So we teach our kids from the very beginning, here is the melody. It is a suggestion. We're all going to play this together, but now what would you add to it? And then here's your tones that you can use. These are the notes that you can use as your musical building blocks. What would you do? And I think it's just so cool.
What would you do?
Yeah.
Not what would Beethoven do? Not what would Mozart do? What would you do?
You
are the musician. You're
What's
the creator.
Your ideas? Yes. If my kids want to play a rhythm that's about tamales, that's what we do.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. In fact, we did it last week. That's why it came into my head.
Nice.
So the student, anyway, back to conference.
Thank you for going with us on this whole detour.
Thank you for coming on our TED Talk. So we're going to recap our favorite sessions that we went to. There were so many.
Yeah. Well, we both had the first session together.
David Thaxton. We had to go see our Orf Dad.
Yeah.
Hi, Orf Dad.
Hey, Orf Dad.
Okay, so he just published a book through Sweet Pipes that is making tracks in recorder. And it is a recorder book that is all train themed. And it is so cool. And you just don't really believe that you can have over 100 recorders in a room and actually want to listen to them until you've heard it. There were a whole lot of music teachers in that session, and we sounded beautiful on those recorders. And he did this, and he was working on this when we were in our level 2.
That's what I was going to mention. Yeah.
So he did some of it with us, where he went down this, again, nerdy rabbit hole, and researched train whistles. And what chords they are.
Yes.
And so he wrote like the chords down for the different brands and what direction the trains are headed. And we played engineer. Basically, I got to be the engineer at one point where I pretended to pull the horn and everybody was playing their note on the recorder. You just pick one of like 6 and then we go toot and we all sounded like a train. It was so cool.
Great. It was great. I remember when he was teaching this back in level 2, and I mentioned this to you, I think, during conference, the day right afterwards, like, it is fascinating because we were such Orf babies when we first were introduced it. And when I was learning, I was like, okay, this is cool. I don't know how I was trying to wrap my head around it as how can me as a former conservatory approach teacher teach this? And now entering in my 8th year, it's like, oh, yeah,
that's how this works.
This is how it works. Okay. Yeah. Now that I've given myself more time to see like how Orf works, watching the magic in front of me was like, this is cool. This makes sense. Great job, Dave. Yeah.
He is an advocate of not teaching BAG first. So he starts with low E, as a lot of people do, because the idea is once you get your kids to produce that low E well, then the breath control, it is hard. And so the breath control just comes a lot more naturally for them. And so he does a lot in pentatonic. And so once he gets that, the E, the G, and the A, really, you can do a lot from there. Yeah. And so he had a couple of songs where we were playing those 3 notes, singing, doing some movement, and some people had the fipples on the side going. And
I always love doing that.
It was really fun. Yeah. So anyway, his stuff is brilliant. You should check it out.
One thing I really like, and I think this is something that I would love to delve into as another episode, but something that's been on my brain for a while is how do you get the students activated? And I love how Dave teaches. Dave starts out, we're all sitting down, and he doesn't say a single word. And then he starts playing some, I don't even know.
The Native American flute music?
No.
I'm thinking something music. Different.
Like the whole samurai approach, like.
Yeah.
And he just starts waving his recorder around. It's like, what's this guy doing? Similar to how we were, when we were in our level 1. He just sits down, starts singing. All of us have our books and pens. What? What's this man doing?
Yeah.
And
you're not taking notes right now. Put that down and come here.
But he's not saying that.
Right.
Exactly. And so, as someone who's a gamer, like level design is something that's vastly important. Like when you play Mario, you just there's no instructions, but you know intuitively, I gotta push something, so I move to the right. Oh, obstacle. I guess I gotta push something to jump over it. Same thing with Dave. there's no instructions, but through through intuition, through good level design, he then creates a way for you to learn how to play the recorder without the instruction manual.
With no explicit instruction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I find
he's like moving slowly in a very Tai Chi kind of a way to like samurai music, and landing one finger at a time on his alto recorder so you can see where his fingers go, and everybody copies, and it's fun, and it's a dance move.
And you don't need the objective on the board.
You sure don't
need the text on the board, and anyone can learn.
Okay, now use the pads of your fingers and make sure that the hole is completely sealed. There's none of that. Yeah.
Too much time.
It's just sound effects.
It's sound effects.
And
it's
playing.
Visual. It's play. It's smart play. It's kind of like I mentioned this in last year's episode where I was talking about Russell Nadal, and for him, it's students need to create on their own. Our job is to create the guidelines for them to create.
Right.
And similarly, Dave created the guidelines for us to create. Because again, not just did we play the recorder well, we also made the music on our own.
Yeah.
With some guidance, but still.
Right. There was improvisation worked into the lesson beautifully. So we all started out playing the same thing, but then it was like, okay, so here's the notes you can choose from. Here are some ideas for rhythms. You can use them, or maybe you want to change them for your own. And we started by improvising with our names.
Yep.
Yeah. And just put your name on the recorder, put it into a rhythm, then add some notes. And pretty soon we're all playing together. And because it's pentatonic, it sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rad. It's just so cool. Okay. So that was fun. You know what? I think the other big part of going to conference and being together with all these other music teachers is sometimes it's just nice to do this stuff and have it go well. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wait, your lessons don't go perfectly like it would with adults? What?
It's nice. I mean, sometimes we get those lessons where everything is flowing and beautiful and the kids are with you, but
feels so good when it does. But
But, often you face challenges and somebody has a meltdown, and it was very peaceful to learn all these things and have them go well. So that was nice too. So anyway, Dave, you're amazing. We love you.
Crushed it.
Yes.
And then we didn't have anything together for a long period of time.
I did not see John for days, even though we stayed in the same house.
Yeah. Did I sleep in the house?
I mean, barely, maybe. I definitely did. So you said you went to Victor Lozada's.
Oh, yes.
Tell me about that.
Second session. That was...
What was the topic?
That was such a special topic. His was on supporting linguistic diversity in the classroom.
Tell me more.
I will. It was... I mentioned about powerful sessions. The Inoue Sisters is still the most powerful session I've ever went to, but this was definitely up there. He's talked a lot about how do we teach music and how do we consider our students who are English is not their first language, which is always a topic at hand. But I mentioned this last.
That's very much our life.
Yes, very cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me backpedal for a bit. I also mentioned another frustration I had last year at Salt Lake City. Sorry, I wasn't Salt Lake City. It was South Carolina.
Yeah.
Was that a lot of people had a lot of really big topics, but it was just so much information shoved in your brain, and like there's no way I could process that. But when Victor taught, an eighth of his lesson was, or maybe a quarter of his lesson, he decided he was going to teach it all in Spanish. I've taken Spanish before, several times. Since I was in first grade, I've had Spanish in my education. I wouldn't consider myself fluent, but I understand Spanish enough to where I can pull cognates, I can understand by hearing. Speaking is a little more difficult. And he intentionally went, not fast, but he went
at a normal speed.
But for as me, as someone who is not a who is a Spanish language learner, let's flip the paradigm there. It was really fast, and I could not catch on. But what he did do was, through his expressionism, he praised us whenever we did something right. He would constantly praise us, and that at least helped us feel a little more centered. And it also just brought a sense of empathy towards our students who are in a English only essentially classroom, and how do they feel? I remember also I had a coworker. She's no longer at Casillas, but we did red carpet assemblies every. I don't know if you do something similar to it, just like award ceremonies. Just to,
I gotcha.
We call it red carpet, just to pull the red carpet out and make them feel fancy.
Yeah.
The teachers used to have to speak a handful of words about the student. my teacher, Miss Arabia, she decided to speak on behalf of a student who English was a second language, and she decided to speak it all in Spanish. And then she said, if you felt a little bit confused, that's how she feels every day. And again, bringing it back to the sense of empathy. And so after Victor taught in that fashion, we broke down, we talked about what our thoughts were. And he argues that the language that we use is important for us to try to see students beyond just their limitations. He talked about, I've never heard of this, but apparently there's a LEP is something that's often used, limited English proficient.
We use that as a measure.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah.
I know we use ELL as okay, English language learner, but like there's the tier. He goes from words you probably shouldn't use to words that are okay, but they're better ones. To his focus is, why don't we just call them emergent bilingual?
Yeah.
Why don't we just, instead of focusing...
It's a lot more respectful, I think.
It is way more respectful because, first off...
The language around it has always really bothered me.
It is bothersome because, first off, it's English-centric when America's official language is nothing.
Yeah, we don't have one.
So,
right.
Which is good, by the way. I want to emphasize. And so instead of us using the limitations of a student as the measure of their worth, why not just call them for what they are? They are emergent bilingual,
right?
As we should be, as we are.
Yep.
But and so it was a really great session. I was just really moved. It was like, this is a lot of great stuff. I will have to look over these notes once again several times, and rethink how do I teach my classroom? How do I cater to the strengths of my students instead of just seeing the quote unquote weaknesses, or rather, should I say, how they don't fit into my current paradigm?
Yep.
And so it was just a powerful session. And so I talked to them. I was thankful. And hopefully we can reach out to them, see if we can have them join part of it. Actually, all these people we're going to talk to, talk about. It would be great to have them on Chaotic Harmony.
Yes, or if you guys are listening and you have somebody whose voice needs to be heard, we definitely want to talk to them. Yeah, that's so great. I'm now jealous that I missed that one. Well, I want to talk about Rob Amchin.
Go for it, yeah.
So I got to go to his session, and it was like boom, 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 boom. Like it was like he fire hosed us. And he opened.
What was this on?
Well, it was called From Process to Product, and so it was just 4 rapid fire Orff Schulwerk lessons. They were all based on pieces from the volumes, but they were silly. One of them was on a book that he loves called Too Much Noise, about an old man whose house is too noisy. So he goes to the wise man of the neighborhood who tells him to get all these barn animals basically until his whole house is full of animals. Then he's like, you told me this would fix my problem. And the guy's like, well, sell them all. And he does. And then he's very happy with his quiet house. But he put it to an Orff melody, and it was lovely. He had 4 boxes at the front of the room, and he put the topics in them, and then he had people choose a box. And that was the lesson for that part. And it was really cool. So he did, but you know, the really great thing about watching him is he is just so, it's just so second nature for him because he's been just doing it for so long, and he's been teaching college students for so long. Again, it's a lot like the best Orff teachers start their lessons without talking. They just launch straight into imitation, which is the first step of the Orff process. It goes imitation, exploration, composition or improvisation, or actually improvisation, and then creation or composition. And
I want to I want to place a pin on that because another person I'm going to talk about, Paul Weller, I forgot to mention earlier. Has one more thing he wants to add on to it. But let's go back. I
want to hear about that. Yeah, but so he just launches straight into imitation. So he does something, we do it back. It always starts with body percussion. And then maybe he'll add he'll attach speech to it after. And then you've got body percussion and speech going. Then you add on more movement, and then you put some of it onto the Orff instruments. Then you split up into groups, and what would you do? And doing that 4 different times with 4 different lessons at different levels, it was just really good to have somebody lead me through the process who is so good at it, because it feels very safe. When you're in the hands of a great teacher, you feel so safe. You know that you're going to get a lot out of it. You know it's going to be fun, and that you're going to be proud of whatever it is you come up with at the end of it. Yeah. So that was my favorite part of Rob's session. It was just beautiful.
I think one of the important things is the fun element.
Oh yeah.
Especially when we go to these conferences, especially.
Yeah.
Like music should be
Yes.
fun. Music learning should be fun. And music learning should be a lot of things. But as the educator, if we're not having fun, then it's just a lot of information in a long conference.
Yes. Yeah. And our workshops are really fun. We're like practically pushing each other out of the way to get the ORF instruments, you know. It is really delightful to be with hundreds of people who are so hungry to get to become better and to do right by our kids. Like we all have that mindset, and it just, again, with feeling safe. It was a beautiful thing. It's like, these are my people for a reason. It felt really good. Yeah. I want to hear about what you had to say about Paul Weller.
So Paul did a session on going from movement to creation.
Okay.
And I talked to Paul afterwards because something that has been on my heart for a while is to lean into being a TA.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was actually...
Do you mean a TE, teacher educator?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's okay.
So
I just got my stuff in for that.
I have no desire to be a TA. TE, yes.
TE, yes.
No, actually, another...
Yeah,
going
I think we're both
backwards,
headed in that direction.
I
We've
think
talked
we are.
about
we
that.
We have,
yeah.
yes. But also...
You already are, by the way, just not officially stamped yet.
No. I've had experience.
You've led workshops.
I've had experience. I wouldn't call myself a TE, but thank you for at least making me feel good.
No, that's what I'm here for. I knock you down a peg when you feel too good. So
I think so. Actually, one thing that was really important in this whole conference. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. The whole conference was also something that happened before conference started.
What was that?
We had the DEI meeting.
Oh yeah.
And so we pretty much just talked about what are the things we want to see different. How do we want to improve? It was a very good time to talk about people, talk with people who have who have wrestled with similar problems. I love my ORF people, but it's people who look like me have had different experiences than people who had looked differently.
Yeah.
And so all of us, so that was another thing I was talking about earlier, just like the coming to the table and being able to talk about stuff where, to be quite frank, last year, I feel like I still felt too young. I'm now there. And so we were chatting about, why am I talking about this? This is important. What were we talking about before? Oh,
the ORF Schulberg process and
TEs,
Paul Weller.
TEs.
Oh, TEs. Okay.
Yes, TEs.
I'm still dying to know what needs to be added to the process.
We'll get there. But just when Josh Block, Dave Thaxton, when people said you should be, movement teachers, like, okay, that's cool. But when you be taken to the contextualization that about a year ago, our 151 TEs, only 9 of them were. Yeah. As we mentioned in an earlier episode with Tiffany, we're teachers of color. That's just too low. And I think that it reinforces as someone who suffers with imposter syndrome. I might suffer with imposter syndrome, but I still have a perspective that needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. So that's why I've been taking being a TE more seriously. It's like, maybe this is not about me anymore. This is about something bigger than me. And so I'll keep you all posted on how that goes and how the process is like. So I'm leaning into it more.
Good.
So I talked with Paul because he is a movement TE, and it's like I've only had Joshua as Block as my only example, and also over the summer I watched Mika teach as well. But seeing Paul's approach, it was like, okay, this isn't Josh, but this is stuff I understand. I liked it a lot. And it is like very much a breaking down from movement to the instruments to creation and using all of it at the same time. So he mentions, I apologize, Paul, if I butcher your words if you listen to this, imitation, exploration, improvisation, creation, but the thing that people do but needs to be said, showcase, perform. Okay. It has to be out there. Otherwise, how do people know what's happening in our four walls? Yeah. Which I'm fully for. And it doesn't have to be on stage. It could be 6th grade watches 1st grade. Yeah. There are many ways to do it, but that was a very key component to it. But Paul's session was great, and it was fun. Again, fun was super important. I unfortunately went to sessions the year and also years prior where it's just stuff that was important information, but wasn't fun. didn't stick with me.
Yeah, you remember the fun stuff.
I remember the fun stuff. I also
Isn't that such an important lesson for us to learn as teachers?
As teachers, yeah. Yep. Are we giving life to our kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it just activates different parts of the brain when it's fun, and so it sticks.
Well, I will definitely remember though the rug burn I got, because there was a lot of movement. That was my own. No, that pain was on my own doing. I will mention that, but it was a lot of fun. Just rethink how movement can be utilized in the contextualization of a full ensemble, but not just limited to copy movement, shadow, but really create on your own.
Yes.
And some of the limits. So I mentioned earlier about creating limitations for students to create. He had his own limitations as well for us to create with our body, but the limitations were wide, and so we were able to create, what does a swirl feel like and such. And so, and from there on, how does that feel like on the barred instruments? And then from there on, how does that feel like in a whole ensemble
Because
piece?
that's the point of movement in the ORF process, is it's musical articulation.
Yes, and I have issue with that, because I do think movement, as Dan Nelson mentioned, like movement,
right? It is music.
Movement is music, and like I feel like movement serving for the sake of the auditory art is a disservice.
Sure, it's all
hard to balance. I don't know.
Well, it's all feeding into the goal of having a person who has aesthetic valuing. Like you understand how to move and play aesthetically.
I'm with you as long as they're at the same level, and I feel like at the moment a lot of teachers don't treat it that way.
Okay.
A lot of teachers treat it as movement is subservient to creating good auditory music,
which makes sense with music teachers, because we're not dance teachers,
but we are teaching kids how to be artists in general.
I get it. Yeah, no,
so
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
I consider myself a dancer. I grew up doing that, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
It's also funny to see how different people approach movement. This is nothing to do with Paul, but as someone who is working in that, like, oh, that looks like 80% of them, they look very Disney. It's like what's the vocabulary that they were taught? And for me, I did not dance at all growing up. A lot of my movements based off of Taekwondo. So like I remember when I was sharing
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of my movement is very form based, and so, but that's what I bring to the table. It's just funny to see everyone's vocabulary is very much a Disney vocabulary, and it's like, well, how do we,
or how many little girls take ballet like I did,
that too. Yes, but but how do we expand the vocabulary? And so that's something that has been in my mind as someone who is trying to introduce
I'm excited
kids.
To see where that goes.
We shall see.
Let that little seedling sprout. I'm going to talk about Matthew Stensreud.
Go for it.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
It was so good. Expound. Oh, it was so good. So Matthew led a folk dance session that, again, he started without saying anything at all, except going up to somebody and taking their hand and saying, hello.
Hello.
And then he reached over and shook the other hand. Hello again.
Hello again.
And then they walked that way. And that was the promenade. And then they let go. And then he's making all these sound effects. Do, 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 do. Goes up to another person. Hello. Hello again. And then they promenade for a little while until there were a lot of people in there.
Like how many? 20 plus, 30 plus?
Oh my God. It had to be like 150.
Woo!
It was a huge room.
You're talking about the after sessions.
No, it was a session. It
150?
was a massive session. Yeah, I could be completely wrong, but I'm numbers and me, I don't know.
It's okay.
It felt like a lot of people though.
Okay.
It felt like it had to be over 100 of us. It was a huge room, and he got all of us following him in a line, with our partners, whoever it was we ended up with, and taught a folk dance, but then put it to like 7 different songs. So it was the same thing, but the articulation was different. The tempo was different. It was really cool. It was real. And so that's what I've taught my kids. And teaching my 3rd graders how to do folk dance has so far been a disaster until I started out doing what he did.
Okay.
With the hello again, and then do, because they had to concentrate. And then he taught us how to do-si-do, which is a really hard move for kids, because you have to like go past the partner and have your back to them to get around them. That is next to impossible to teach.
What I like to do is do a football approach. Okay, so
just
take
tackle.
two X's. No.
That's what happens in my room.
This is still a joke, but like, the whole, all right, on the board, we got two X's here, and we're going to go around the halfback, and we're going.
No,
I'm
you know what he
guessing
did?
Matthew was much more playful.
No, what he did was he goes like that with every step till he's all the way around the person, and then he gets these done. He's like, oh, that was hard, but we did it.
I wish I was there.
It was so cute. It was hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he had a great activity at the end where he gave us a box, and you either got a cube or a sphere, and they were clear acrylic, and they were filled with things, and you had to create a dance inspired by the things in your box. Oh. It was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Matthew, for helping me get my third graders to dance this year. I really appreciate that.
And for getting the grunts on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, I know. I did have a little girl tell me that it sounded like we were all pooping. I'm like, well...
Sometimes...
I don't know what to say.
I don't know to say the
that,
bad one.
But, yeah. I was like, well, we're not. Moving on.
You know what? As long as you don't poop here, I think we're good.
See, that would have been funnier, but I didn't think of that in the moment.
I had to take a little bit for that one. Oh, man.
Yeah, I had nothing for that one. Yeah.
Also, sometimes funny can go wrong. Like, I remember one time.
That's true, too, depending on the group.
Yeah. I was doing my first year, I was teaching, singing above the head and whatnot. It's like, and I think I utilized, because I didn't want to do the whole pulling a string from your head as if like that would be really traumatic. So instead, just as you push down, just imagine you're having a good poop, and everyone laughed for a bit, and then we moved on, except for one kid,
of course,
who would not stop laughing, and it's like I lost him.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Everyone, moment of silence for this kid.
He will never forget that lesson.
He won't forget though. Nope.
Yeah. So that was the folk dance one that I loved. You had a couple more you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Though. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on Paul's session. Not so much Paul, but it's more so what we were talking about earlier about Disney. Because I went to another session which was not actually something that I cared for. I'm not going to mention so much about it, but one thing was talked about was like there is giving. We're talking about guidelines. Giving guidelines for students to make good movement, and I agree with the root of it, but actually kind of coining, or rather hearkening back to Darlene's episode. Darlene mentioning, but what is good from whose paradigm, from whose perspective? And so this teacher is trying to state, these are the first good movements you should start with. And I don't disagree with it, but why limit it to just those? And if you do that, then you are just going to create, once again, a bunch of Disney clones. There's a lot of different options out there that are not white. Just plain bluntly, there's like a lot of non-traditional approaches that are still good movement options to teach kids. Why not utilize those?
Yeah. So that are still very engaging for audiences.
Yeah.
I just had a total flashback to my student teaching life at Lincoln High School with me teaching choreography to a Glee song, and this girl just like leaning back in her chair with her feet kicked up going, oh my God, white people. I'm like guilty as charged.
You look at me.
But it did inspire me to have them choreograph the next song.
fair, yeah. So my second one I wanted to talk about, I went to Brandi's session. She had two sessions. I only went to the one on I forget what it was called, but it was focused on the banjo. And cool. I liked it a lot because the banjo was the main piece of narrative that sewed the entire thing together. She talked a lot about race, talked a lot about cultural identity, talking a lot about instrument identity also. The banjo we think of as a bluegrass white instrument when it really was black. Yeah. For a long time. And through minstrels, that's when it kind of shifted around. But I was just really again, harkening back to what I said about Victor, I was so impressed about something that's not an easy topic to talk about. Yeah. It's not easy to talk about race, especially for a demographic that's 80% white women. Like talking about race is not easy, but how Brandi sewed it was all through the banjo. The banjo was the main source of it, and from there she was able to share personal narratives and also narratives of other people, and then showcase why this is all important to everybody. It was just really well done.
That's awesome.
Again, all these like,
she always comes in so well researched.
yes,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you feel like you're taking a college course in an hour. That's how I've walked away from learning from her. It's amazing.
I've been to sessions where it did feel like a college course with my notes,
but it was still fun.
But she made it engaging, and I think the narrative of it being the banjo and it was the connective tissue, as opposed to something that was just too big to tackle.
Yeah,
Brandi did a great job.
That's awesome.
I liked it a lot.
Good. Is there anybody else you want to talk about?
There was one more. These next.
Aaron Williams.
I also want to talk about Aaron Williams. Unfortunately, this was on a Saturday.
Okay.
And anything on a Saturday is just so hard.
Yeah. That last day of conference, you're really pushing to the finish.
Well, especially since I was at conference since Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like I was burning the candle.
Yeah.
Aaron talked about video game music in the classroom, and not really a critique, but more of a commentary I noticed. There we go. Something I noticed about the Orff Schulwerk is that it focuses a lot on the volumes music, music from the volumes, and it's really good music. It's very good for students to create from that. But harkening back to my first year, I remember I don't remember her name, but one of the presenters says, "You have so much music in the playground." Yeah. The playground should be the music that inspires
all those clapping games and songs. Yeah.
But so taking that and going further, what if it's not just the playgrounds, but what if it's the kids at home?
Right. Which would be more accurate for me, because I know we've talked about this before, but when I started in Chula Vista, there was no singing or clapping games on the playgrounds. Right. Either school.
Right.
I didn't hear any of it.
Same. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. I taught them those. They didn't know because their music right now is video games.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while I have unfortunately noticed a lot of teachers, not in Orff Schulwerk, but just in general, is like, that's what you do at home. You know, that's the music, or more so, I can't recall back to Darlene, I can't recall if it was Darlene on our podcast or me on her podcast, but she was sharing, like, a lot of times educators say, well, this is how you sound like at home, and this is how you sound like in class. Yeah. Why bifurcate it? Why separate those two? And so, I think there's some validity, but also you harm the students' desire to want to make music when that's what they love. The things that they do at home is what they love. Right. And so
it's dismissive.
It's dismissive, very much so. Yeah. And so something that's difficult, because there are video games is a huge investment. Like, not money wise, but like understanding how video games work and the culture of video games is a time sink. Unlike movie, you can watch a Marvel movie in 2 hours. A video game often takes 20 hours. Or if you play it, a JRPG, 100 hours. Like, that's a long investment for you to understand what your kids like.
Totally.
But if you are familiar with it, why not bring that into the Orff Schulwerk? And so Aaron did a really cool thing. He taught in a means of like, this is the music, but also what if we create the music together? And again, it was early in the morning. All of it didn't sink in. I have the notes. I'll have to get back to it. But it was just great to see, hey, this isn't just stuff that my kids love. This is stuff that I love. Yeah. And so we played the music from Sonic. We could have chose Angry Birds.
Oh, that's fun.
But it was great. And then like, I haven't played Sonic since I was 7. I've not played. And so when we started playing on the instruments, oh wait, hold up. This is good. Yeah, because this is a motif. What he was playing is a motif that's in every single Sonic game from Green Emerald Hills. And it was, I'll probably butcher the name. It was just great. It was the Orff process utilized for a medium that is not.
You can grab a simple melody from pretty much anywhere, so why not from there? Yeah. And then you get the kids to buy in.
Very much so.
Because they recognize it.
They recognize it. They love it. The big kids, us adults, were doing a movement story with it as well. Yeah. It was like, this is the Orff Schulwerk through Eastern music. This is Japanese soundtrack. It's like, why not do this more often? And so it takes more research, it takes more learning, but everyone's aware of video games.
I had the kids ask me to do the Minecraft music to a movement activity once, and it's great. Yeah. It's very calming.
Yes. So I wish I had talked to Aaron afterwards. I loved his energy was also just so infectious. It was great. It was like there were so many tech problems happening, but he rolled with it nonetheless. It was
got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were lots of jokes about Dave rolling up with a whole bag of dongles. Did you see it?
No.
He had like
Wait.
He had he'd packed it so that like no matter what they had in that conference room, his technology was gonna work.
Right.
He had like 9 of them, but dongles. There were lots of dongle jokes. I won't get into it. All right.
You could.
I know. I'm good. We were going to end with Drue's session because we both attended that and it was beautiful.
Drue's session. So his was on bridges.
Yeah, he talked about the Bridge of Avignon in France, and it was lovely.
And I think that's a piece that everyone knows it in the Orff-Schulwerk, but how he approached it was just again, it was like Brandi. It was just sewn. It was sewn. It was beautifully.
It was seamless.
Yeah.
Just from beginning to end. There was it was delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I just spent the whole hour grinning like like a crazy person. I was just so happy. Yeah. It was just we were playing the whole time. Yeah, it started off with movement. He had a picture of the actual bridge. And so he had points on the bridge that we would get to in the song and be like, okay, so now I want you to move like you have to say hello to all these people. So you're going to say bonjour. And so we're going to walk through the room and you say bonjour, what was it, 5 times or something like that? Bonjour, yes. Bonjour, 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 bonjour. 6 times. So you pick 6 different people to say hello to. And then we changed it. Now pretend like you're doing different things with them. Maybe you're meeting them at a party and you're clinking your glass, or maybe you're seeing someone that you know across the street and you're waving hello, or maybe you come up with something completely different. So how are you going to say hello? I don't know. It was just amazing. My favorite part was when he tricked us into playing the song on the instruments. He's like, okay, now play this little clip of it, and here's 4 beats, and you play it like this. Okay, now here's 4 more beats. Can you play it like this? And he mixed them up completely out of order. And then now I wonder what would happen if you put them together like this, and this, and then all of a sudden we played the whole song. We're like, whoa.
See, that's as I go back to it, it's good level design.
Yeah.
It's like what is your eye? Where was your mind being attracted to?
Yeah.
You're not seeing the big picture yet, but your eye is being attracted to this. You go this direction, and then eventually, as you spiral through the entire map of the lesson, it's like, oh wait, I just climbed up a mountain
somewhere. Yeah.
And you see, and at the very end, you see the landscape before you. Like, but this is good level design.
Did it all through baby steps. Yeah.
One thing that really I laughed inside, and I might have laughed actually outside as well. He did something, I forget what it was. It was with the 1s and the 5s. But it was the directional as far as how we move our bodies. And then it ended up being the 1s and the 5s for the chordal structures.
Of course.
Damn it, Drue.
Yeah.
So, it was, again, I am just always impressed watching my friends who just paint. It's really a painting. It really is a painting of how you teach a lesson.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I
don't know.
Watching great teachers and so many different types of great teachers doing what they're really, really good at. And that mastery is very hard won. It was an incredible thing.
What's something that you would like for future conferences? Maybe building off of something that you liked for this one or years prior, or something that you wish was different.
I have said this over and over again. I think I told everybody at conference that would listen to me, that conference needs to be 10 times bigger than it is. People need to get to it. I mean, it is such an important experience, and it needs to be filling up the buckets of more teachers. And it's not the fault of the planning committee. Like, I think we need to get the word out, because it is just a soul-filling experience. It has made me a better teacher, and it has become a non-negotiable week in my year where I need to be there. Yeah. That's the biggest thing to me. Just more of the already amazing thing.
I'm with you there.
Do you have something that you were thinking of when you asked the question?
It's funny you say that, because it's a different side of the same coin.
Okay.
There needs to be more visibility.
Yeah.
I talked about this during the concert. This should be streamed.
Yeah. I was breaking rules and taking pictures on my cell phone and stuff. We're not supposed to do that.
Right.
But I did it in all my friends' sessions because I knew that
they'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I knew they'd be okay with it because I'm trying to help people see how amazing it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I the rules are there for safety.
Yeah. And to protect intellectual property, which I get as well.
Yeah.
With the content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts.
And also,
but
you don't want people on their phones in a session.
That's
you
true
want
as well.
them to engage with the content. But unless you can see the beautiful things happening at these conferences, you don't know how important it is to be there.
Or even go back. It doesn't have to be the sessions. It could just be the opener.
Yeah.
Showcasing those kids.
If only I knew a videographer who was a really good storyteller.
But like, no, even if it wasn't like cut like perfect, like just having it live streamed.
Yeah.
Having people like educators. Hey, educators, you couldn't make it this year. Look what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal. These are phenomenal kids showcasing how art can be made.
Right.
In a relatively short amount of time. Like,
yeah,
they've been practicing for a while, but it's still relatively.
It's a few months.
That's still short for what they pumped out.
You see the kids. You see the teachers. You see the teachers who come hungry to learn.
Yeah.
And just like all of that compounding together, it's some good energy. Okay, can we talk about the banquet for a second? You want to talk about good energy?
That was fun.
That was fun. So the highlight for me of conference every year is the banquet because, we've spent 4 days with our head brains just being stuffed as full as they can possibly be of new ideas. We've been fire hosed that whole time with big ideas. And then we get a night and we all call it Orf Prom, or we get to dress up and have a nice dinner together.
Or dress down.
Yes, some of us wore unicorn onesies.
I came with a tie. I was classy, okay? You want to judge me? I was classy.
John got a lot of attention.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if people can dress up the way they want to, why not dress the way? Like, so, no, I was like, every single year after my first year, I need to do this. And last year, I didn't have the guts to do it. This year's like, you know what? Forget it.
Bring it
Let's
on.
Do it.
Why not?
Let's do it.
You looked great.
I had fun.
It was a fun party. And I have to give major props to the banquet. Yeah, well, yes. The banquet organizing committee. Well done. Just the centerpieces were all movement props. So they were glow sticks and scarves and bubbles. And it was amazing because we were all wearing the lights and waving the glow sticks and playing with the scarves. And,
right.
Yeah, it was incredible. But yeah, the band.
The band is the MVP of this entire conference.
Really?
Or at least the banquet.
Yeah. So in years past, sometimes the live event band gets up there and we're a bunch of musicians. So, we're not the easiest crowd. And also, you've just never seen anything like 400 teachers, like music and movement teachers, like on a dance floor. As soon as the band starts playing, the table's empty and it is crowded over there, and it's amazing and it's good stuff. And I think we freaked out some of the bands in years past. They're like, whoa,
this is a lot.
Yeah, we're like doing folk dancing to it, right? And
or geometric digression.
Right.
It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I remember after the piece was done, the band this year is like, yeah, that happens every time we do the song. There's
a long ways set. Yeah. Just kidding. That's a first. That's what he said. But this year, the guy who said that, the keyboard player, he's one of us. He's an Orff teacher.
I saw, him post on. Yeah, so okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why they were so good. Gotcha. So major props to him. Yeah. And my favorite thing was he threw Sasha in. Yep. And we're all listening, and we're like, "Is this what I think it is?" And then we all realized at the same moment, and everyone just starts yelling, "Sasha!"
And then our senior president Sasha was like, "They're singing
it's my song." I know, it was so great. Yes, it was a beautiful way to end our time together.
Definitely.
Yes, it was soul filling. If you haven't gone, make time to go next year. The dates are already posted. It's going to be in New Mexico. It'll be at the beginning of November again. So
in the city that no one knows how to spell if you try to say it out
Albuquerque.
Loud. Yeah, how do you spell that?
No idea.
Albuquerque. Yeah.
I Google it. That's use your tools, right? So.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, it was good. It was good. It was good. Well, we have Spiccatos
after the break.
After the break. I want to take a quick break and thank my husband, Bryan, who's been working behind the scenes producing these episodes every week on all of the platforms and on time. But you need to know that he is first a financial planner for Mission Trails Financial. Mission Trails Financial is a partner that seeks to guide clients in the journey to financial success. They believe that people need a financial advisor that aims to provide strategies for success. Mission Trails Financial helps people navigate investments, tax planning, and insurance. Imagine working with an advisor who isn't tied to specific brands. Mission Trails Financial has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of their clients by providing independent, objective advice. Their mission is to help clients accomplish their financial goals. As Joe Vitale once said, a goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. Do yourself a favor and set up a time to chat with Mission Trails Financial. Visit www.missiontrailsfinancial.com or call 619-419-0238 to schedule a call. You'll be glad you did. We believe that leaning on professionals is how we get ahead. Check out the program notes for more information. All right, John, I have my Spiccato.
Hold up. I know we've had Thanksgiving break and all that jazz, or maybe just folk music, but we got to do a hard left turn. So, sorry, Mikes.
That was a turkey.
That was a turkey?
Or a chicken. That wasn't a break. You need to work on your sound effects. Sorry, continue.
Okay, so if you would like to see just me, I don't know about her anymore, but we appreciate everyone who's been listening.
Find a new living room to record in.
I've done it in different people's
it's true.
work offices.
It's true.
Thank you so much for dealing with our shenanigans these past 73 years. It's been 3 years. Nope. 73
it just
episodes.
feels that long.
Dude, it's been a long process. 73 episodes. 74 actually, if you include episode 0. But yeah, it's been a process. Thank you everyone who's been with us for the journey along the way. Would help us a lot. Make sure that we're still going is to, go on that app. Leave us 5 stars. 5 is the only number that I know how to count to. So yeah, I used to say, anything below 5, it's up to you. What do you want to put? No, I'm going dictatorship here. Give us 5 stars. Come on. And if you want to, it would be very helpful if you could leave us a review. And we have a new review.
Yay!
We do.
Yes.
Reviews not just help our souls feel enlightened, but also it does really help with the optics. So please do leave a review. It helps us a lot. And
it helps people find us.
Exactly. So this latest one was listed by B. Arbra, with a hyphen between the B and the Arbra.
Hi, B. Arbra.
Hey, B. Arbra. B. Arbra writes, I recently found this podcast and am obsessed. Chaotic Harmony has encouraged me to join AOSA. Ah, yeah.
Woo!
And I will begin to pursue my ORF certification as soon as possible. Hey!
Yes. Get it, girl.
The hosts have such authentic conversation. They spark my creativity to push my music program to the next level. B. Arbra, thank you so much.
That's so kind.
Yeah. And reach out. Also, B. Arbra, reach out to us as you can. Anyone can on social media. We're on at all the platforms at CH Classroom. So if you want to message us there, just reach out. Maybe you'd love to have you chat out. So chat with. Chat something.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. Also, whether or not you are on YouTube, go to YouTube. Mm-hmm. Make sure you like and subscribe. Helps us keep these lights on. And also what helps us keep these lights on, we now have a Patreon. So go to patreon.com/CHClassroom. We have a lot of things to offer to those who want to give us, drop a buck to us. So check it out. And
$5.
$5, $10.
And up.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, $5 and up. Yeah. There's some glitch right now. It says 1 or 3. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Just like 5 stars, $5.
Yep.
So, let's go to Spiccato. What do we got?
Okay, I'm allowed to do Spiccato now?
You are allowed. I give you the grace to pursue it.
Okay, so my Spiccato this week are clothespins. I have these teeny tiny ones.
These
are tiny clothespins. These are an inch.
An inch, yeah.
But I figure they could be representative. You could do clothespins of any size, and you can get tiny clothespins, or you could get gigantic clothespins, or you could get normal ones. Ooh. They do sell them at the dollar store. Okay, they're very cheap.
How many for?
I think ours. I think I just bought a pack of 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I use them for Christmas decorations.
What I'm thinking right now is non-Western notation.
Okay.
Maybe you have string. So
iconic notation?
So iconic notation works.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying not... Yeah, so...
no quarter notes and eighth notes.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So using this to signify where... what notes are being played or what the pitches are.
Okay.
And then find a different way to do rhythm. But
So clip a string?
Clip on a string. and then play what's written.
And then that represents
Music.
Cool.
Music.
That's fun. I've done similar things before in the classroom where I have the kids hang up whatever it is that we did. I used it. There's a book called Polar Bear's Underwear that our Orf dad taught us a song to. Poor, poor polar bear, he forgot his underwear. He didn't. They're white and he's white bear, so we just forgot that he was wearing
Dumb
them.
bear.
I know. But we all made really funny pairs of underwear and we clipped them to the clothesline, and then that was the music.
Cute,
so
cute.
yeah, so the similar idea. I've also used them. I love making creatures with them, with that as their mouths. They make really great alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold up. Using with our powers combined with Josh Southard, we could do a stop motion thing with alligators. That would be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah, you could turn it into animation. These are actually magnetic.
Oh yeah,
clips
they
are-
do have metal on it. So
Yeah, and so you could use a. I really like using oil collecting trays. You know, like you put under cars.
Yeah.
They make great magnet boards if you're looking for a cheap alternative. I had one when I taught at the Catholic school, and I was on a cart, and so I just had my oil tray on my cart, and then I had a magnet board. So that was really helpful. Yeah. So I think that's what I would do. What would you do, dear listener?
Let us know.
With clothespins. I am curious.
Cool.
All right. Are we ready for a round?
Round of the week.
Round of the week. Element. Okay. And since this is the AOSA conference recap, we have to do Viva la Musica.
We gotta do Viva la Musica. Yeah. So actually, we have not done this song since episode 0, which is wild. So, shall we?
We shall.
Viva, viva la musica. Viva, viva la musica. Viva la musica. Viva, viva la musica. Viva, viva la musica. Viva, viva la musica.
Viva la musica.
Something that was really special about this year's AOSA related to Viva la Musica. At the end of every opener, we do end off with Viva la Musica, which is always
the
great.
opening ceremony.
But at the end of banquet, were you there?
I had to go.
You had to go. That's right.
I didn't feel good.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think it was Pierre. Was it? I forget who it was. I think it was Pierre. He comes on stage. He goes on stage. We're all about to head out.
Tom.
Is it Tom Pierre? Yeah, it's Tom Pierre. Yeah. I think it was Tom Pierre.
I love him.
I'm pretty sure it was Tom Pierre.
Okay.
He jumps on stage, and he starts singing the Viva la Musica. And then we all just out of what we thought was best, we just get into this big ring, and we all just start singing. He then splits us up into 3 groups, as we did with the ending of the opening ceremony. And this is a perfect tying of the knot.
I love that.
It was beautiful. It was great. After a spanking band, and then ending off with such a memorable note. It was good.
That's
good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Y'all be there next time or be square.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But Crystal, if people want to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you?
I'll talk to you. You can find me on Instagram at Mrs.Pridmore. You can find me on Twitter at FinnyVappa. You can find me at crystalpridmore.com.
Cool. And you can find me at Mr. Seligman on all the socials, on Instagram, Twitter. Also, I just jumped onto Hive because Twitter is a hot mess right now. It's a hot mess.
Wait, really? What? Why?
Well,
I'll bet you could be verified Carl Orff.
No. I could do that. Oh man, oh gosh, I'm curious if someone's done that already. No, Twitter's a hot mess because its leader is weird. But yeah, so I'm on Hive. It's an interesting platform. Check it out. So if you want to check me out at Mr. Seligman, you can also reach us at CH Classroom on all the socials, be it Twitter, be it Facebook. We're also, our YouTube is now at CH-class. So you can reach us there as well. You can also email us at chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
The Chaotic Harmony podcast is a joint project between Crystal Pridmore and Jonathan Seligman. You can find us online at chaoticharmonyclassroom.com. You can email us at chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com and let us know what you think. Give us feedback about what you would like to hear in future episodes. We're on all the socials. Find us on facebook.com/chaoticharmonyclassroom. You can find us on Twitter at @CHClassroom, Instagram at Chaotic Harmony Classroom, and you can even find our episodes on YouTube. Chaotic Harmony is the name of our channel. Special thanks to Bryan Pridmore for his help with production and equipment. www.pridmoria.com.
I would like an Arnold Palmer at the omelet parlor. Okay. I would like an Arnold Palmer at the omelet parlor.
Merrily, 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 wash your dirty knees.
That sounds sensual.
What are you doing with your knees?
Crunchy muffin.
The itsy bitsy spider, he burned his little.
You gotta bleep that out.
Huh?
You gotta bleep that last part out. Round of the week.
That was beautiful, John. I think that you should record the next round of the week.
You know, sure. Why not? Let's do that.
Yep. I can redo that element.